The Pulitzer Prize has been awarded to both the New York Times, a former newspaper, and the Washington Post for failing to make the case that Donald Trump colluded with Russia to defeat Hillary Clinton. The prize comes with a citation to the Times and Post that reads in part, quote, "Even though you didn't achieve anything, you tried really, really hard and deserve a trophy for doing your best. After all, winning isn't everything. Everyone who participated should get a prize, and afterwards we'll all go to Baskin-Robbins for ice cream. That should help you forget the fact that you've wasted more than a year covering a story that doesn't exist while people were watching Bret Baier on Fox News to find out what was actually happening in the world. So congratulations, and here's a plastic cup and a ribbon," unquote. Reporters at the Times and the Post celebrated by drinking champagne until they found themselves lying on the bathroom floor, vomiting and sobbing over their lost journalistic ethics and their wasted lives. Trigger warning, I'm Andrew Klavan, and this is The Andrew Klavan Show.
I feel hunky-dunky, life is tickety-boo. Birds are winging, also singing hunky-dunky-doo. Ship-shaped, tipsy-topsy, the world is zippity-zing. It's a wonderful day, hurrah, hooray! It makes me want to sing. Oh, hurrah, hooray! Oh, hooray, hurrah!
All right, I am here in Phoenix in a Hilton hotel. I had a fantastic time yesterday at Grand Canyon University. I gave a speech there, and the kids were absolutely great. I call them kids because I'm so old, they look like kids to me, but they're students. Really nice university. It's just burgeoning, kind of a private Christian university. A couple of really interesting questions I will tell you about in just a moment, but first we have to talk about Lightstream, because I don't know about you, but when I use my credit cards, I don't think about money at all. You know, I just hand them the plastic and magically they give me stuff and it looks like it's free. But then, of course, you don't pay it and you find out that the interest rates are somewhere between 70 gazillion and 14 gigalillion. And suddenly things start to mount up. But if you're paying more interest rate than you need on your credit cards, you can refinance your debt with a credit card consolidation loan from Lightstream. Lightstream is a serious company. It rewards consumers who have good credit with a great interest rate. Credit card consolidation loans start from 5.49% APR with autopay and no fees. Application is 100% online. It's simple and painless, and money is deposited directly into your account, so you are in control. You can even get your funds as soon as today. Apply today and you can get an additional interest rate discount on top of Lightstream's already low rates. The only way for my listeners with good credit to get this special interest rate discount is to go to lightstream.com/Andrew. That's lightstream.com/Andrew. lightstream.com/Andrew. This is subject to credit approval. Rate includes 0.50% autopay discount, available only when you select autopay prior to loan funding. Terms and conditions apply, and offers are subject to change without notice. Visit lightstream.com for important information about limits on Lightstream loans and same-day funding. All right, so, you know, I'm at this university, and I obviously took questions. I think it'll be online on YouTube. You can probably look it up if you want. It was a really interesting exchange. And one kid said to me that his mother hated religion, and she kept telling him that religious people only do good to get a reward in heaven, whereas non-religious people just do good because that's the kind of people they are. And I was thinking, first of all, of course, the premise is untrue, that unreligious people do good just because they're them. But it really is like saying you're a fake. You only exercise because you want to have a healthy lifestyle and look good. It's like you move toward God because that's where the joy is. And that's what I was kind of speaking about. I was speaking about the way that the press and everybody attack religion. And they basically have a way of manipulating religious people who oftentimes are not press savvy, media savvy, into condemning things, into always being into the position of saying no. Should you do this? No. Should you do that? No. And that's why, religious people always look like kind of the grim reaper, and not to mention, of course, Hollywood portraying them, as the worst bigots and homophobes and all that stuff. And that's the basic. That was what my speech was about, is why they do that and why that's happening in our society and what we can do in answer to it. But it got me thinking about the fact, since normal, everyday Christian American values are so under attack, and anybody who holds them comes under this absolute onslaught from the left, it's good to observe the different ways that people handle them. I was watching Hannity yesterday get hammered for this Michael Cohen story. I'll talk about that. Watching Starbucks getting hammered for these two guys arrested. And I thought back to Chick-fil-A. Remember Chick-fil-A, where Dan Cathy, the guy who runs the place, CEO, came out against gay marriage. He's a Bible-believing Christian and doesn't believe in gay marriage, and he said so. Recently, The New Yorker, this is just a couple of days ago, The New Yorker ran a piece called Chick-fil-A's Creepy Infiltration of New York City by Dan Peppenbring, all right? And he says, New York has taken to Chick-fil-A. One of the Manhattan locations estimates that it sells a sandwich every 6 seconds, and the company has announced plans to open as many as a dozen more storefronts in the city. And yet, the brand's arrival here feels like an infiltration in no small part because of its pervasive Christian traditionalism. This is the New Yorker telling Chick-fil-A is infiltrating New York with its Christian traditionalism. Its headquarters in Atlanta. Listen to this description. This is supposed to go with horror or danger music. So think to yourself like bum 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 bum. Its headquarters in Atlanta are adorned with Bible verses and a statue of Jesus washing a disciple's feet. Bum 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 bum. Its stores close on Sunday. Bum 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 bum. Its CEO Dan Cathy has been accused of bigotry for using the company's charitable wing to fund anti-gay causes, including groups that oppose same-sex marriage. Bam, 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 bam. So anyway, and Cathy, there were protests. Remember, people were dressing up as chickens and holding signs, God hates hate and all this stuff. But Cathy stuck to his guns. He never changed his stance. But listen to him back. This is back in 2012. So listen to him back in 2012 talking about why he felt the way he did. This is cut number 2.
So we're concerned about this whole issue of the family and how we define the family. And so we just want to encourage, our nation that, hey, God sets the standard of what a family is. It's not going to come out of Washington. It's not going to come out of, some blog site. But whatever that definition of marriage that we can hang on to that really is going to represent the stability of our future, we need to be committed to it. I'm not a politician. I'm not a preacher. I'm just a businessman out here. But I just want to say that, hey, we ought to pray for our politicians. We ought to pray for those that are the thought leaders. We're really out here to sell chicken. But if someone asked us the question of how valid biblical values are, our testimony is they work. They really do work, regardless of the internet and all the things that are changing all around us. There are some things that haven't changed and never will change.
So he stood up to them. He never apologized. He never said anything. He said, these are our values. And people lined up around the block. Now, Chick-fil-A is, I think it's the 3rd highest fast food venue, if you include Starbucks and McDonald's and Starbucks and Chick-fil-A, which was not as big at the time because he stood up to them. He didn't spit in their eye. He was kind about it. He was just insistent that this is where he stood. He did, over time, moderate his tone because he's a Christian man, right? He wasn't trying to spew hate. He wasn't trying to say, the Bible says there's no yes and no in Jesus. It's all yes. And he wasn't trying to condemn people. He was trying to describe what a family was, and according to the Bible, and what it isn't. And that is what he was trying to say. So later, they interviewed him just a few months ago, and he still maintains exactly what he maintained before. He's never lost his principles, but he moderated his tone a little bit to make it clearer what he was saying now that he had won the face-off. So here's that more recent quote.
I've been able to reach out to people in the gay community and sit down and have some incredibly wonderful dialogue with them. I tend to like to find the things that we can agree on. And as an example, a friend that I've gotten to know up in Charlotte, North Carolina, we find that this issue of bullying and saying demeaning things about people because of a whole wide range of different things that we can try to pick at each other. Washington does a pretty good job of it, focusing on the minors and things that we should, just let's move on to the important stuff. So I've been able to do that with this friend, and as a result, it's opened up a great dialogue. And together, we say, hey, we're going to be honorable and we're going to be respectful of everyone.
So that's a beautiful thing, right? The guy stands up for his principles. He wins the day because he doesn't back down. He's not panicked. He stays exactly where he is. People show up because they respect him, and some of them share their principles, and some of them, I'm sure, just like the chicken sandwiches. And then he can say, you know, it's not about hatred. It's not about no. It is about yes. It is about welcoming people and being respectful of people. But it's also about not changing the definition of something just because the government says so when the Bible says something differently. That is a beautiful thing, in my opinion. Compare that now to what's happening at Starbucks in Philadelphia. But before we talk about that, let us talk about my teeth. Because I know as I'm talking, you can barely think for looking at my teeth and saying, wow, how do they get like that? They get like that because I consulted my dental hygienist and she told me you got to use an electric toothbrush. And the problem with electric toothbrushes is they're huge, but not Quip. Now, usually when I talk about Quip, I do not have a visual aid, but because I'm traveling, of course, I have it with me. Here is my Quip. It is a beautiful thing, right? It's sleek. It's really well designed. You don't have to recharge it. It works on a battery, and they will send you every 3 months. You can subscribe, and they'll send you a new brush head, which is important to keep the brush heads strong. It packs just the right amount of vibrations into a slimmer design at a fraction of the cost of the bulkier traditional electric brushes. And most brushes don't get named one of Time Magazine's best inventions of the year, but Quip did, and you can find out for yourself why. Quip is backed by a network of over 10,000 dental professionals, including dentists, hygienists, and dental students, and it really does make a difference when you use an electric toothbrush. You really get rid of the stains, especially if you've been hanging out with Michael Knowles and smoking those cigars. You get stains. Not, hanging out with Michael Knowles, you get stains on your character, but those cigars will give you stains on your teeth. Quip will take care of it. Quip starts at just $25, and if you go to getquip.com/Klavan right now, you'll get your first refill pack free with a Quip electric toothbrush. And I know what you're saying. You say, how do you spell Klavan? Because you're brushing your teeth. It's Klavan. There are no E's in Klavan. That's your first refill pack free at getquip.com/Klavan, spelled GETQUIP.com/Klavan. We say there are no E's in Klavan, but apparently that is not always true. I found a fellow at Oxford named Dr. Andrew Klavan. Can we put that up so you can see it? And it's spelled Klevan. So I guess, is that what it is? Klevan, or is it's Klevan? Yeah, so there is occasionally some E's in Klavan when you take your E's. All right, so Starbucks, Philadelphia. Two black guys come in, they don't buy anything, they want to use the bathroom. The manager says to them, you're not allowed to, our policy is you're not allowed to use the bathroom without buying something. He asks them to leave because they say they're waiting for a meeting. The police come in, and he calls the police, and the police come in and escort them out, and he gets caught on video, and this becomes a big deal. Okay, so they're protesting, they're boycotting, and here is the police chief, Richard Ross, in Philadelphia, describing the incident as he saw it.
They had seen these two males come in, they sat down, and after being seated, they decided that they needed to use the restroom. Starbucks said that according to their company policy, they do not allow non-paying members or non-paying people of the public to come in and use the restroom. And so they then asked these two males to leave. These two males refused to leave, and the police were called. Now, when the police were summoned to the scene, they get there and they get this story that I just began to outline. They then approached the males. They asked the males to leave because they're being asked to leave by Starbucks employees. In fact, in an effort to quell the situation, officers actually called for a supervisor so that it would not get out of hand, something that was a good decision. And 3 different occasions, the officers asked the males politely to leave the location because they were being asked to leave by employees because they were trespassing.
So, of course, it's the racial game, right? The two black men, they're arrested for sitting while black. People are going in there with megaphones and screaming. They're protesting outside. They're threatening a boycott. A lawyer for the guys who were arrested, Melissa DePino, comes out and she immediately plays the race card. Here's her quick take.
These guys were doing what people do every single day. They were having a meeting and they were undoubtedly singled out because of their race.
Undoubtedly. If you say it like that, undoubtedly, that means there's no doubt. Undoubtedly, okay? Starbucks collapses. They fire the manager, or like at least they say he's no longer working there. So I guess they give him the boot. They start our hearts are broken. Here's the CEO apologizing, falling all over himself, apologizing.
In this particular case, the local practice of asking someone who is not a customer to leave the store, and unfortunately then followed by a call to the police. Now, certainly there are some situations where the call to police is justified, situations where there's violence or threats or disruption. In this case, none of that existed. These two gentlemen did not deserve what happened, and we are accountable. I am accountable.
So it's like, it's going to be sensitivity training for anyone. I call BS, okay? I don't know what happened. I wasn't there, but just use your imagination for 1 second, okay? This is Starbucks in Philadelphia. You ever been to Philadelphia? It's an East Coast city. People there are all different colors, lots of black people, lots of people in between black and white, lots of everybody. It is an American city on the East Coast. Philadelphia, Starbucks. You think there are no other black people in Starbucks? You think that they hire bigots who harass their customers because of the color of their skin? Absolutely not. What were these two guys doing that made them different? Maybe the manager overreacted because they were giving him a hard time. Maybe he overreacted because he thought these are the rules. They've got to fire the rules. And by the way, why don't they have to follow the rules? Why shouldn't they follow the rules like everybody else? I am telling you, there is no such thing as an all-white Starbucks in the middle of Philadelphia. There are people streaming in and out there all the time. I want to know what these guys did. Now, they're not arrested, they're not charged, it's not going to come out, but it's going to be really interesting to see as this story goes on. What's going to be interesting is the moment when it disappears from the news media because it no longer serves the narrative of a racist America. You know, that's going to be really interesting. You just watch. It'll be there for a couple of days. There'll be protests. And of course, apologizing does nothing, right? It does nothing. They don't accept the apology. Just like with Laura Ingraham, she apologized, but luckily Fox stood up for her when she was when she insulted that Nazi teenager who hates guns. I shouldn't call him. I apologize. Oh my God, I'm so sorry. I don't apologize, but that teenager who hates guns, she insulted him. She took it back, but he wouldn't accept the apology. Fox stood by her, and now her ratings have skyrocketed, which brings me to Sean Hannity. So yesterday, Michael Cohen, Donald Trump's personal attorney, is in court, and he is trying to keep them from revealing all the documents they got, which he says violates lawyer-client privilege. And the judge is a friend of Bill and Hillary, presided over George Soros's wedding. They called her the love judge in New York because she was caught in an affair with a businessman. So Cohen is trying to protect the names of his clients. He says he's got three clients last year. One was Donald Trump, and then this guy, Elliot Broidy, who was a venture capitalist and the former deputy finance chairman of the Republican National Committee. And what he's doing, he's paying off girls for these guys, right? And who's the third guy? And he says the third guy is Sean Hannity. And apparently there is an audible gasp in the courtroom, and the media goes bats. Hannity, to make fun of them, just to make fun of them, Hannity just strung together all the times he was mentioned in a single day. This is cut 12.
He stood up and he said the name Sean Hannity.
How did he say it? Was it like Sean Hannity? Sean Hannity.
Sean Hannity.
Sean Hannity.
Sean Hannity. Sean Hannity.
Sean Hannity.
Sean Hannity.
Sean Hannity. Sean Hannity. Sean Hannity. Sean Hannity. Sean Hannity.
Hannity. Hannity. Hannity. Hannity. Hannity.
Sean Hannity.
It's Sean Hannity. Sean Hannity. 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 Sean Hannity. Sean Hannity. Sean Hannity. Sean Hannity. Hannity.
Sean Hannity.
Hannity. Hannity. Sean Hannity. Sean Hannity. Sean Hannity. Sean Hannity. Sean Hannity. 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 Hannity.
Sean Hannity. Sean Hannity.
Sean Hannity. Sean Hannity. Sean Hannity.
Sean Hannity. Sean Hannity. Sean Hannity. Sean Hannity. Sean Hannity.
Sean Hannity. Sean Hannity. Sean Hannity. Sean Hannity.
Sean Hannity.
Sean Hannity.
Sean Hannity. Sean Hannity. Sean Hannity.
Sean Hannity. Sean Hannity.
Hannity. Sean Hannity.
I love it. So of course, you know, the comedians go absolutely bonkers, right? They hate him so much. Jimmy Kimmel hates him. Stephen Colbert hates him. Stephen Colbert really sank low. Here is Colbert's piece.
Cohen only has 2 other clients, and all he does for them is pay off mistresses. Which raises the obvious question, who did Sean Hannity have sex with? Now, we don't know, and I can't prove this, but I think it's that football he's always holding. Yeah, every commercial break, he's got his hands all over it. Daddy wants some pigskin.
You know, the other day there was a piece in, I think it was in the New York Times, a former newspaper, used to be a newspaper, by Kevin Yu, a guy named Kevin Yu, Y-U. And he was watching Roseanne, and they had a funny joke on Roseanne. Roseanne and her husband, Dan, wake up after they pass out on the couch, and they say they've missed all the, and Dan says, we've missed all the TV shows about Black and Asian families. And she says, oh, they're just like us. You know, they're now, you're all caught up. In other words, the message of all these shows is they're just like us. And the headline of the story is Roseanne, when a punchline feels like a gut punch. If one joke on one TV show is a gut punch to this guy, I want him to just imagine what it is like to be a conservative in America, where you are hit every single day by every single late night comic. I will say this, The Late Show did do one funny thing that really is worth playing, where they mashed together pieces of Sean Hannity. These are all spliced together over the years to make it sound like he was confessing. So do we have that?
And this is a Fox News alert. President Trump's longtime personal attorney, Michael Cohen, is my attorney, and I defended him right here on this program. Can anybody say conflict of interest? A huge conflict of interest Fox News has largely ignored. To put it another way, Sean Hannity should be fired, like yesterday.
That was pretty funny. But I mean, since every comedian is going to attack him, somebody's going to get funny. Here is Sean Hannity explaining his relationship to Michael Cohen. This is Cut 13.
Michael Cohen never represented me in any legal matter. I never retained his services. I never received an invoice. I never paid Michael Cohen for legal fees. I did have occasional brief conversations with Michael Cohen. He's a great attorney, about legal questions I had, or I was looking for input and perspective. My discussions with Michael Cohen never rose to any level that I needed to tell anyone that I was asking him questions. And to be absolutely clear, they never involved any matter, sorry to disappoint so many, matter between me or third party, a third group at all. And my questions exclusively almost focused on real estate. I've said many times on my radio show, I hate the stock market. I prefer real estate. Michael knows real estate. So in response to all the wild speculation, I want to set the record straight here tonight. I never asked Michael Cohen to bring this proceeding on my behalf. I have no personal interest in this legal matter.
So all over TV, they're calling for him to resign and slinging insults at him. Alan Dershowitz was on his show, and really, I have to say, Alan Dershowitz is really coming off really well, and said this to him. This is what Dershowitz told Sean Hannity.
I really think that you should have disclosed your relationship with Cohen when you talked about him on this show. You could have said just that you had asked him for advice or whatever, but I think it would have been much, much better had you disclosed that relationship. You were in a difficult situation.
If you understand the nature of it, Professor, I'm going to deal with this later in the show.
I understand.
It was minimal. I put out a statement about it.
You should have said that, and that would have been fair to say that it was minimal.
That's fine.
You were in a tough position because A, you had to talk about Cohen, and B, you didn't want the fact that you had spoken to him to be revealed. And you had the right, by the way, not to have your identity revealed.
I have the right to privacy.
Right.
I do.
You know, it's a complex situation when you're speaking to millions of people.
Professor, it was such a minor relationship in terms of, and it had to do with real estate and nothing political.
I understand that.
Good advice from an honest guy. But it's tactical advice. You do it so you look like you're, that you're guiltless. You don't do it because you have to or because it's a conflict of interest. If what Sean Hannity says is true, and I'm sure it is, if what he says is true, there is no conflict of interest. And as John Nolte wrote brilliantly today, we just saw James Comey interviewed about his investigation into Hillary Clinton by the man, George Stephanopoulos, who said to Hillary Clinton, "I love you, Hillary," and was her operative. I mean, they're all Democrat operatives. And so Nolte is saying, let us now have the Sean Hannity standard where every single person who covers the news has to reveal his connections. Did Barack Obama go to Martha Radiss's wedding? Yes, he did. She has to reveal that. So he says, Nolte says, now we got to have the Sean Hannity standard. But Hannity should stand fast. He should, I'm sure he will. He's a rock about stuff like this. He should not apologize. There's no point apologizing to the left, because they're not out to get your apology, they're out to destroy you. And I think we saw Chick-fil-A, we should all follow that example. Stand by your principles, stand fast. But if you feel that it is right to moderate your tone or say something about what you said, go ahead and do it once you've won, once your principles have lifted you above the protest. All right, we got a break with YouTube and Facebook, but you can come on over to thedailywire.com. And while you're there, subscribe, because tomorrow is Mailbag Day. I almost forgot. This traveling rattles my brain. Tomorrow is Mailbag Day. Go on over to thedailywire.com. If you haven't already, subscribe, press the podcast button on the site, go to Andrew Klavan Podcast, and then press the mailbag and write in your questions about anything you want, your personal life, political life, religious life. Answers are guaranteed 100% correct and will change your life on occasion for the better. That's tomorrow, so get your questions in today. We got Joseph Tartakovsky coming up.